Well, we've seen 3 games, and what we've noticed are that the rules changed, and they have changed, and we're not going back. The last part of this episode, we're going to talk about the pitch clock because it's been the biggest news coming out of the first 3 games of the spring training season. What apparently is being reported is that games are already ending faster, and I don't know if you noticed it. I've noticed it for sure. Um, Apparently, the average over the weekend was 2.5 hours for game time, and the Cubs even finished a game on Sunday that ended in 2 hours and 4 minutes. And I saw Jared Carabas, I think I'm saying his name correctly, um,
Yeah.
on Twitter say, "What are ballparks going to do with beer sales? they're If they're stopping beer in the seventh inning, the seventh inning is going to come around at like hour and a half in. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how are they going to make any money money on
Yeah.
beer sales? So I could see a change to where the ninth inning's now the cutoff, but it's crazy how quickly this has worked. I knew that it was going to help quite a bit, but I didn't know it was going to shave so much time. I mean, when you're talking Cardinals games, I remember Cardinals games, a couple of them that I went to were 4 hour, 4.5 hours. Like there were a couple long games last season, and our games are already ending in 2.5 hours. What are your first initial thoughts on the pitch clock, and how are you thinking it'll kind of progress as the season goes along?
I freaking love it, dude. I
Yeah.
think the pace is just exactly what we needed. I think it's super refreshing to see pitchers just get up there and just pitch. And I think it's super important to have that pace. And I like what John Boy said on the podcast, this last podcast, is that it's not about the length of the game, it's about the pace of the game. If we had a 3-hour game at this pace, then so be it. It's fine. But it was all that time that pitchers would take just to get on the mound. That's what we're cutting out. We're not cutting out any gameplay. We're just cutting out the fat of the game, which is a reference I made a few episodes back. I love it, and obviously everyone probably has seen the clip of the bases loaded, strikeouts to end of the
Hmm.
game. Obviously, something probably has to be done there, and there probably will be at some point, or the players will be totally accustomed to it at that point, come around to playoffs or if it's an important point in the game. But yeah, my first initial thoughts are it's awesome, and then the shift going away is just the best. I mean, I love it.
Yeah. Yes, the shifts going away have been so much. It's so refreshing. I'll talk about pitch clock first. I have a couple problems with pitch clock, especially after seeing the bottom. So what you were referencing was the bottom of the ninth, Braves, Red Sox tie game in spring training, so it doesn't matter. But it was just the perfect storm. It was a tie game, bottom of the ninth, full count, everything you
Bases
think
loaded.
of. Yeah, it's a backyard baseball play, and it's
Mm-hmm.
the last pitch of the game, and there's a clock violation. And there are a couple of questions about what happened. I mean, the batter was in the box, the catcher wasn't even crouched, but they're saying that if he's at least behind the plate, it's still. But like, how is he going to catch the ball if the pitcher throws it? I don't know. It was just mayhem. And my first initial reaction was, this is stupid. I still agree that it's stupid. And the reason I say that it's stupid is because, and I said this before, it's crazy that the batters only have until 8 seconds is left on the clock that they have to be ready for the pitch. My position still stands that the pitcher has full control of the game. He always has and he always will. And the reason that he gets more time than a guy who's sitting there waiting for him or trying to think about what's coming next, why not just give him the full time? Why can't he have 15 to 20 seconds too? Like that only makes sense to me. If either of them aren't ready, then both of them aren't ready. If one of them's not ready, the other one has till the end of the clock to be ready. It's just weird to me that that's the stipulation that came out of whatever meetings they had in the CBA. And an interesting tidbit that I saw from Jack Flaherty, our own Jack Flaherty, they apparently brought up at ninth inning provisions as players. They were like, you got to understand the ninth inning, especially deep into the season or even in the playoffs. it's pretty stressful to be there as a batter, as a pitcher. Like, we need to have more time. Like, I get speeding up the front part of the game, but what about the latter half of the game where it's more important?
Hmm.
Bases loaded, bottom of the ninth, all this stuff. And he said that MLB kind of told him to shove it. They were like, it's going to be a blanket rule, and you guys are going to have to adjust. And obviously, rules can always change. We're only 3 games in, but it was pretty glaring that, like, this is it. You have to stick to these rules. And I mean, for this season, it's going to be a big adjustment period, especially for those guys who aren't seeing it every day, going over to the WBC.
Yeah, it is weird, the whole batter clause thing. Like, what does ready mean? Like, that's such a subjective thing. And, ready at 8 seconds, it's like, okay, like, why exactly does he need to make eye contact with the pitcher at 8 seconds?
Right.
In my opinion, being in the box can just be considered ready. So that
Hmm.
pitcher can just throw it at
Throw the
any
ball.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that is one caveat that I'm a little weird about. But the good thing is we haven't seen, those are very rare circumstances. And if that was like a 9-0 baseball game, 0-2 count, and then it's the pitch clock violation, then it gets overlooked. But it is good that it came in such a big situation so that it kind of sheds some light on, okay, well, what if we are in a World Series game? What
Hmm.
if that's game 7 in that situation?
Yeah.
That literally cannot happen. For the sport of baseball, that cannot happen.
Yeah.
So that's like, I don't know. I don't know how to compare it to another sport at the top of my head, but there has to be something in there where, I don't know, it just can't happen, especially in the playoffs. So that's the only thing. That's my only gripe about it, which it's pretty much everyone's gripe at this point. But
Hmm. Yeah, I don't think the pitch clock should go away like at all. I think that it's amazing for the sport, and I mean, we have the fortunate, or we are fortunate to be able to see a different game growing up, where the idols of our team are guys who played at a faster pace. So I'm talking Willie McGee, Ozzie Smith, Lou Brock, freaking Bob Gibson. That guy, if he was the pitch clock. So like, we kind of have a different mindset, I think, than most fans. At least maybe me and you, of how the sport can be played at a faster pace and played well. But there's just a couple of things that I think they need to iron out before before they just implemented this blank slate, like no rule, no like wiggle room. But um, we'll see. I'm sure guys will adjust. It'll take some time, but it'll be interesting how long it does take some guys. I think part of the reason that Jose Quintana struggled so much today was because of the pitch clock. He said that he felt rushed. So it's going to affect pitchers. It's going to affect batters, and we'll see how it goes.